What is up, boys?
How's it going, man?
Hello, hello.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Who are you?
I'm Logan.
You are not Slater.
You're not
You
Slater.
are not
Yes,
Slater.
I'm not Slater.
Slater looks different today.
Yeah, right? Yep,
Yeah.
unfortunately, Slater's not with us today.
Yeah. Okay. So for everyone listening, this is Logan Easler. Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
I tattoo along with everyone else here.
Cool. I was hoping you did.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we'd talk to you about.
So I've been tattooing for about the same amount of time as Matt has.
Yep.
I'm going on 8 years.
Cool.
Yeah. Outside of tattooing, I like to rock climb a lot. Spend time with the wife, soon to be family. Go to church.
All the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
Stay pretty busy for the most part.
He's been trying to get me to go rock climbing with him, and I am like a little scared of heights.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
So
I tried to get Matt to go for a while.
Yeah, which I'm still interested in doing. For
Sure.
I am just busy. I would actually love to, though, for sure.
yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. I might be a little scared, but
Be all right?
yeah. All right. So before I forget, I'm gonna do this first. Where can people find you? Your social handles and stuff.
So I'm basically just on Facebook and Instagram. It's just my name, Logan Easler. Well, my Instagram is different. I got locked out on my first one, so it might be like L Easler Tattoos or something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
I think.
Leasler. That's
Leasler.
your Instagram.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, if you can't find it, he's in my friends, so just look him up.
Yeah. There's two there. One that you'll find like old work on, probably 2 or 3 years old that I haven't posted anything, and then the other one is up to date.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Or they can find you at Skeleton Crew as well.
yeah, and it's Skeleton Crew. Like all my stuff is shared on the Skeleton Crew
Yep.
website also.
Cool.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew, the OG shop in Columbus, Indiana.
Yeah.
How long has Skeleton Crew been around? Are they up to 20 years?
Yeah, they're over 20 years now. I know Dave's been tattooing for 25 years. I think this month, I think is what he said.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
25 years.
Yeah, and I think Tyler is right behind that. So the shop hasn't been open for 25 years. There was like a couple year apprenticeship, and then they worked around here for a little bit. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers. So I would say the shop's been around for like 22 years, 23 years,
Okay.
give or take.
A lot of experience in the building, though,
Yes,
for sure.
yes, yeah.
That's wild, dude. Like anytime I talk to Dave, he just has so many like stories.
He can
Like-
go on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those rooms, for
Yeah.
sure. Just hearing stories, especially from tattooers for some reason.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, lots of history in that shop. Dave and Tyler, both brothers owning it.
Yep.
So at some point they had a fourth, right? But you've been the third wheel for
Yeah.
like quite a while now.
Yeah, I've been there for 6 years, right at 6 years. Shortly after I started there, they opened up another studio in Greensburg, so the fourth guy went to manage that shop.
JR.
Yeah,
He did my first tattoo
yeah.
when I turned 18, had money ready to go to get my first tattoo. Like I was just starting on the journey.
Did you do it at Skeleton Crew, or is it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Columbus one.
Yeah.
And it was a Trinity symbol right on my sternum.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I walked in, it was, I don't know, either Dave or Tyler, and then JR was in there, and they were like, I told them what I wanted, and they all kind of like chuckled, and they were like, we'll see if you can handle it. Because as skinny as I am now, when I was 18, I was like way skinnier, just straight bone. So a chest piece, chest pieces hurt, bro. It's just not a fun place to get tattooed in general.
Getting tattooed's not fun.
Yeah, but
I hate it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
People that say tattoos or therapy, there's something wrong.
It's a different form of therapy to them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm not into all that, like, oh, the pain is spiritual to me and all that stuff.
No, I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But let me just say, if no one knows who Logan Easler is and what his tattoos are like, dude, your work is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely is.
Yeah, I look up to you in a lot of ways.
Appreciate it.
And it's crazy, too, because, like, there's I feel like you're super, even in our local area, because everything is like online now and social media and whatnot, it's like if you don't post every single day, you're not relevant enough.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, you are so slept on. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
people, like, I think that we all get at a certain point, you have people tell you like how amazing your tattoos are, or if they're just a fan of your work. And so when people say that to me, I'm like, dude, you don't even know who's right down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you haven't seen these dudes work or whatever.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Well, I only have like a quarter of the Facebook friends that you guys have. So I'm just like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all like,
yeah,
it's
I don't
so,
push it that hard. Yeah. And I'm not cranking out the volume that other guys are doing.
Yeah.
Which to me, lends well to being able to take the patience or have the patience to like make those tattoos,
Mhm.
bring them to the next level. Yeah.
Yeah. And that leads right into like, there's definitely certain things that I know that you do differently, like how you operate. And as well as Dave and Tyler too. So I'm guessing you've learned quite a bit from like kind of how they do things, how they schedule, how they book, like manage their time, and also just like how they like to have a life outside of tattooing. Like they have other hobbies that they do. And honestly, not a lot of tattooers, well, not all tattooers do. Some people,
Yeah.
it's just work all the time.
Yeah.
And so finding that work-life balance, yeah. So I know a little bit about how you do things. I'll probably still learn something
Yeah.
on this episode, but tell us a little bit about how you operate on a day-to-day.
Okay.
And I guess I'll start more specific.
Yeah.
You don't like to work full days.
No. My average client will sit for about 4 hours at a time. And then the max that I usually want to go is about 6 hours. And that isn't necessarily because it's all I like to work, but it's when my back starts to hurt. So as soon as the point comes to where I'm thinking more about my back hurting than I am about the tattoo, we're done.
We're done.
Whether that be 3 hours or 6 hours, we're done.
Right.
So the tattoo it has to have my full attention. So yeah, there's that. So that's pretty much why the shorter sessions are average, aside from like financial stuff. And you know, when you've got a tattoo that is going to take 2 years if we do it at 4 hour sessions, or it's going to take a year and a half if we do it at 6 hour sessions, then we might as well just sit for the 4 hour sessions and not be in such excruciating pain for the extra 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's learning. Half of it is for you, like as far because I mean, bodily pain is one thing if it's a back, or a neck or wrist or whatever, but also because we get in weird positions and stay there for a while.
Yeah, I'm in the process of restructuring my scheduling because of neck issues right now.
Okay.
So, yep.
And I guess the longer you tattoo, the more that's gonna weigh on you.
100%. Yeah, me and Slade had a long conversation. I think we should all. I think that'd be a great thing to dive into, and it sounds like that's partially why you structure.
I mean, those long those long sessions will kill you. I did one 10-hour session one time, and it took me literally 2 weeks to get back to normal.
Dude,
and I'm not doing that again. So.
I think you hit me up after that, and you were like, I tattooed for this many hours yesterday.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Full disclosure, that tattoo didn't heal well.
Really?
Yeah. And I had to go back and do it again. So
yeah, just didn't have
it's
at a certain point, like the tap out sessions when people will push themselves to the brink, and your quality's going to diminish.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think I was talking to you. You and I had been talking for a while about doing like day sessions and or day rates and half day rates and that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this at X amount from start to finish, and we're going to do it in one day. And what I thought was going to be a 5-hour session ended up a 10-hour session.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this isn't going to work.
Right.
So yeah, and then after that, I just went, I raised my rate, my hourly rate, so I'm back to an hourly rate instead of a day rate to just cover for that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and also, so there's the bodily pain aspect, and I have found for myself, and probably talked to you about it. At a certain point, my focus will start to go, and then I catch myself thinking like, I want to be done with this tattoo, or I'm ready to be done with this tattoo.
Yeah.
I'm kind of over it,
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the tattoo. It just means that like at a certain point you get tired and you start to, you know, kind of wander in your mind a little bit. Your body does start aching. You're a little hungry. But you don't
physically not able to do your best
Yeah.
because of outside sources.
Yes, exactly. So what those things cause, like collectively, what they cause is like I'll start rushing on the last 2 hours of the tattoo to try and finish it that day.
Right.
So now, and a lot of it has to do with my relationship with you and talking to you and Dave and you guys about it. I don't necessarily push for that anymore. And there for a while, I was pushing pretty hard for 2-day sessions so that I could do 2 full days and try to knock out huge pieces in one go. Which like, I know people that do that, definitely nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying I'll never do it again, but it takes a lot out of me.
Yeah.
And possibly like alters the quality of the tattoo versus like if I just kept myself fresh the entire time. So yeah, I know that you guys do things quite a bit differently. Like,
that kind of brings us into like the beauty of a gray line session.
Yeah.
To being able to start and stop whenever you want to. Because there have been times, not very many, I try to keep it to a minimum, but I remember doing like a coral tattoo, like working on a section of coral, and I got 2 hours into it and he wanted to go longer, but I'm like, I can't even think about this anymore. There's too much texture. There's like, my brain is shot.
Yeah.
Luckily we had it gray lined and I can start and stop whatever.
Yeah.
And he came back a month later and we finished it up. So yeah, knowing, like you said, knowing when to, like, your quality of work is going to start diminishing, being able to just end it as soon as it starts to decline.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's worth it to just come back another month.
Yep. So I think all you guys kind of operate like that, as far as, like you said, if you have a project that's going to take 1.5 to 2 years, like it's a sleeve or a leg sleeve or a back piece or a large project. If it's going to take that long, then why are you rushing it anyway?
Right.
To get stuff done? Why not just do it at a pace that's comfortable for you and comfortable for your client? So, you know, nothing wrong with that at all. It's just definitely, for some reason, we feel the need, I think even collectively as a tattoo industry, there's often a feel that you have to get stuff done as quickly as possible, and great tattooers don't necessarily work that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of like convention, competition based stuff,
Yes.
TV shows.
It works
added
opposite.
to that. Yeah, you get a 6-hour time limit for this episode on TV show, and it has to be done this session, and it's a back piece.
Yeah.
Like, I think it created some of those unrealistic expectations too of what's possible in a day.
Yeah. I think there's also like a group of old school and new school tattooers that pride themselves on being fast.
Yeah.
And then when they start teaching everybody, then it's like they're ingraining that into the next generation.
And not everyone can tattoo fast at a
good quality. It'd be,
sure.
yeah, you'd rather have the good quality and tattoo slow than knock it out in half a day or a day.
Yeah.
Yep. We mentioned this recently. There's some rarities out there to where they're super fast and they're also good.
Yeah, like Pete Carino and like Joshua Carlton, those dudes were so fast. And
I'll never understand it. But yeah, it's definitely not the way that I think or the way that I operate.
I just don't think that fast, I think.
Yeah.
I can't even tattoo that fast.
Yeah, right.
Like if I tried, you know what I mean?
My black and gray tattoos go way faster than my color tattoos. Now, like, I enjoy color tattoos, but I have to think so much more about it.
Yeah. So that'd be your preference, color over black and gray, or?
I don't know. I don't know that I have a preference.
Yeah.
Because black and gray is easier to tattoo for me.
Yeah.
But I also really enjoy the final result of color.
Yeah.
I think there's something about it that's maybe a little bit more impressive for like the general public.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like the black and gray is going to heal or like age better over like in the next 15, 20 years. It's all going to come down the same versus color.
We don't
may or may not
all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think that comes from your like oil like painting background, or like why you enjoy color?
You like to paint?
I like to paint. I don't do it as much as I should do it.
None of us do.
And I don't fully. I have a pretty good grasp on color theory, but not like. There's still when I'm watching videos about it and trying to learn about it, I'm just like, this has no. This makes no sense whatsoever.
Right? Yeah.
Dude, I need to watch some videos or tutorials on oil painting, because anytime I've done it in the past, like there's no direction that I'm taking on it. It's just trying to learn how to blend things and this and that, and the whole thing's a struggle.
Yeah, I've recently gotten better with color theory. I recently switched over to using the Empire color set.
Okay.
So it's all mixing with a base set of like 10 colors. So it's like I'm learning, to make this like bluish gray, I'm mixing a raw umber and a phthalo blue. And I would not think I'd be getting this gray out of it. And it's fun. I don't know, I enjoy it.
You probably learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And that was, I know, because that was they just started releasing color like within a year ago.
I don't even know if it's been a full year yet.
And that was their whole, like, I guess, goal with it, is for people to dive into actually knowing color theory, because they only released a certain amount of colors, and they said with this set of colors you can mix and make every single color.
Yeah,
that
you
ever
have a chart where you have like a dominant, and then you're mixing color as well, and then different things that basically dilute or mix yourself, and
So they went more of a painter's perspective on it, as far as like, if you do oil painting, you have to mix and make your own tones and stuff like that from like this set of colors. You don't just go buy. There's not 500 colors that you typically go buy in an oil painting set. You just buy a set, and you can get the job done with those by mixing and whatever else.
Yeah, and I don't know, it makes it fun, and I can be more specific with it. I think you would probably enjoy it, having like a painting background too. But
it's kind of funny. One of the first things that I asked Dave when I went to Skeleton Crew, he was getting ready to do a tattoo, and it was like a lot of sepia tones, and like everything was kind of just browned out a little bit. And I was like, how are you going to get all those colors? Like, well, I'm just going to mix a little bit of brown in there. And it blew my mind that I never thought of, and was never taught to, like, you can mix tattoo pigments.
Right.
It's like, I've been tattooing for almost 2 years at this point. Like, I had never mixed tattoo colors together.
They only come in this
they only come in the in the bottles.
That's it.
After going to Skeleton Crew, just mix them together. If you need a color, just mix it up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, that works, doesn't it?
Light bulb.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, that would be wild to learn for the first time.
Yeah.
Back to so you don't like to work full days.
Nope.
That's just how you operate.
Yep.
How many days a week do you work? Work in like 4 to 6 hour sessions.
I try to do. My goal is 5, but most of the time it's around 4. So if I get four good 4-hour sessions, then it's a good time for me. I'm not killing myself and working 8 hours a day. Like, even with like 2 4-hour sessions, like I'll stack 2 clients at a time if they're doing 2-hour sessions. But if they're doing a 4-hour session, then that's an hour and 4 hour after cleaning up. So it's a 6-hour day. So I'm there. So yeah, there's
you work enough, but you're not going to kill yourself.
Right. Yeah. And I've got room to like add more if I wanted to. Or felt the need, like something happened and I need some extra cash, then I've got room to add that extra.
Right. Or you have a cancellation or reschedule. You can kind of,
You mentioned, so you like to do gray line sessions. There's definitely like, and I've heard a lot of conversation about this outside of just me and you, but we've talked about it a lot, and I think that we like joke about it sometime. But so you like the gray line sessions, and then in my opinion, I'm like, well, I just find a cutoff of my stencil to where I can cut the stencil next time and re-stencil fresh every time. You like to just have the stencil on there at all times, so you don't have to re-stencil, which makes total sense.
It depends on what it is, but yeah.
Okay. So I don't know how I ended up it probably was influenced the people I was around the most when I was kind of learning how, like, my process and how I do things now. So maybe if I worked at Skeleton Crew with you guys and that's how you all do things,
you
then
hand stencil and have good stencils instead of those trash printed ones.
Yeah, but I don't know. Even that it's interesting to me the way what people grab a hold of.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because you like your way and I like my way, and
Yeah.
like there's nothing wrong with either of them. It's just
Yeah. Which I still like to on portraits is when I will re-stick stencils. I don't want to have a gray line going through the face.
okay.
Yeah.
Now Dave will do like a gray wash. He'll take a curved mag and wash in the
Blocking the shapes.
little
kinda,
block in the shapes of a face.
Mhm.
But I don't do that personally. But yeah, gray lining it does a couple things. It makes a stencil. Obviously, it's always there now. And the benefits to that is you can start and stop whenever. So if you don't get to a good cutoff point, and like either if my wife calls me and says, "Hey, I'm going into labor,"
You
I'm
gotta
out.
leave. Yeah.
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 or something happens with my client or their family and they've got to run, that's fine. Also, another benefit is not having to worry about wiping your stencil off.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to think about where I'm wiping or what direction I'm wiping because the gray line's just there.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a little ease of mind as
yeah,
well.
it can seem like a waste of time on that first session, but after you get into it, the next 6, then it's totally worth it.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for me, because most of the time I'm not gray lining a whole sleeve at one time. I'll just gray line that section that I'm working on, and then I'll get it done, and then we'll go on. So
Yeah.
keep hitting the mic, but
It's all good.
So you gray lining, do you ever go into any of like the shading or detail stuff in that same session or no?
So I will gray line and do black, but
Okay.
that is it.
Gotcha.
So if you gray line and then try to wash over top of it,
Darken it.
like that line is going to come through. It's like it's going to mix with pigment already, and then you'll see that in the end result. But if you let it heal, it doesn't come back through.
Yep.
Most of the time.
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked. I was curious if you had like a method that you were like somehow dodging that of darkening those gray lines
Yeah.
as you're working.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes
And if it's going to be like a 1 drop or extra light, as you guys do, then I will just block in the shape with a curved mag instead of putting a line in.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's so I use pre-mixed washes, as
Right.
do you use an Empire.
Yeah, I'm using raw at the moment because it is darker than I think the Empire is. But
Okay, you like it so far?
yeah, I love it so
Cool.
far. Yeah.
They just released a Dawn Brown opaque set,
Okay.
opaque grays. I want to get that set. Anyway, but what was I saying?
talking about washes.
Yep. Mixing.
Oh yeah, so like I'll be talking like black and gray with Logan, and I'll be like, yeah, so like this and this extra light, or like like I use the light tone for this or
Right.
whatever, and he's like he uses a drop system,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
it doesn't equate to him, and I'm like, oh yeah,
Right.
forget.
Yeah. I mixed mine for a while, and I just like having that like consistent of just okay, I can just grab, pour. I know what it's like every time. The
Yeah.
only bad thing is different batches or can be inconsistent sometimes.
It's like with our ink manufacturer, our color ink manufacturer especially, it's like you can hold 2 bottles up next to each other and they're not even close
Right.
to the
Mhm.
same. It's like they're probably fine in the skin, but like as far as the manufacturer being consistent, not happening.
always. Yeah.
But yeah, I use like 7 different tones of grays for my
Okay.
black and gray
Yeah.
stuff. So
Mhm.
I have a pretty good scale going. Which Tyler at the shop, he's like, that's crazy. He's like, I mean, keep doing what you're doing because you're doing a good job. But like, with
Yeah.
him, he uses like 4 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like a 4-stage wash with using the triple black that I do for the
Mhm.
black. But same thing. Like if you're using a drop system, I just love talking with you because you do everything different than me. but I have mad respect for your work,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm never gonna tell you anything of like stop doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting using a 7 or 8 drop system
Yeah.
wash. Like it's so many tones. I guess I've gotten it down almost to a science of like the tones I use being pre-mixed, what they're called. I know exactly how they look when they're healed and coming
Mhm.
back. Which honestly is why a lot of people say like your work is so dark or like has so much black, but it's like if you fully saturate a medium tone,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an
It
Empire
looks
medium
black.
tone,
Yeah.
it looks black in a fresh picture. But I know when it comes back, it's like a medium silky gray,
Mhm.
you know? So I think knowing those things like down to a science for me and not having anything change has been good to like dial in what I do.
As
Not-
it'd
not
probably be
s-
the same for him.
Yeah,
like
it's the
it's mixing
same.
at the same time.
Yeah.
same
Because
way
it's
every
like,
time.
you know, what are the odds? Like I'm mixing the same amount of drops into each cap every
Every time.
time from one bottle of black.
Mhm.
So it's like Allegory's going to get their black the same every
Yep,
time.
right.
Right. They're a little,
There might be a variance.
there
and
might be a variance of the washes. It's like, oops, I put, 20 pounds of black instead of 19 pounds of black that time. So it's going to be a little darker in this wash.
Yep.
But it's fine. Nobody's going to know, and they'll ship it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've asked you before too, like with you never exactly know the amount of water in each cap, if it's a little bit less or a little more. And I asked
yeah.
I asked you if you ever notice any inconsistency, and you say not enough that matters.
Yeah.
Like it's close enough every single time, and there's still 7 tones I'm working with.
Yeah.
Like it's not making a difference,
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen like the big, large scale black and gray tattoos that I've done. Like, I'll post them online. You can't tell that they've,
Different
it took
sessions
2
and-
years to get that thing done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely different bottles of black. There's different tones in there. They were done at different times. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start commenting on your stuff and just for fun and
just
being
like highlight where it's like, I'm pretty sure this was a different session, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna be like, I think your 6th wash tone had a little too much water that day in that area. I see it. No, don't see it. Yeah. Well, good stuff. So you guys, do you have any questions real quick? I do have 1 or 2 more, but you got any questions for Logan?
Maybe not on the topic of the conversation, I guess. So yeah.
Okay.
Carrot wherever. Yeah.
You guys in your shop, not just you, but the other 2, you guys book differently than anyone I've ever really talked to.
Mm-hmm.
Would you care to elaborate on how you guys do your booking process?
Yeah, me and Dave book pretty similar. Tyler still has his own way of booking, but I think we've kind of we came from the same. Like, we were booking once a month for we'd book a year out until our calendar was, because we use paper calendars. So I would just, if I started a large project, I just book that client once a month for every 4 weeks for 12 months, and then my calendar would get booked up, had no time to like take a random vacation or anything like that. It was like I had to plan my entire year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got to thinking, and I think listening to other podcasts and talking to other artists, they're like, well, I'm really only tattooing 20 to 25 clients at a time in that year.
Right.
So maybe 30 at most, right? So I thought, well, I'll only take on 20 clients at a time, and I'll just book them once a month. And then when their when their session comes, then I'll book them the next month, and so on and so forth. So I can like get my 25 clients and then just stop taking new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So yeah, it does cause problems when they cancel or they want to push it out 5 weeks or 6 weeks instead of 4. So there is some kinks to work out in that system, but that's how I do it.
Yeah.
And it all kind of starts with, as far as getting good clients that are going to be consistent,
Yep.
it kind of starts at the consultation process. So we'll bring them in for a consultation, try to get a design together for them. And at the same time, try to see, do I want to spend the next 100 hours with this person?
Yeah. Kind of like an interview process.
Right. Yeah. It's not just trying to get a design together, but it's me trying to think like, oh, do I enjoy this person? Do I want to spend more time with them? Are they interesting?
Right.
Now, I don't talk a whole lot during the tattoo, but we still need to
You're
get
gonna
along.
spend time
Spend
together.
a lot of time together.
Yeah.
They think they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing
Right.
them.
Yeah. It's a two-way street, definitely. And really, if they're willing to wait and like come in for a consultation, because my consultations aren't booked out that far right now. It's, a couple weeks to 2 months or something like that.
Right.
So usually, if they're willing to wait months to come in, they're going to be an all right person.
Right.
Like, patient people are usually decent,
Yes. Absolutely.
decent people.
And I'm guessing that's like, if they have to wait a month for a consultation, it might not always have to do with time. It might also have to be with like, well, I have my number of clients right now, and I don't exactly have an opening for you yet. So next month or 2 months from now, I have a project or a couple projects rolling off to where I'll be able to accept a new client.
Yep.
And that to me is what's amazing, is like, you guys, have it figured out to where you only book a certain amount of clients. And I kind of refer to it as like a timeshare
I think
way.
that's how Dave explained it to me at one point.
Yeah.
Actually, was like kind of like use that analogy maybe, because that's how I've always felt, like
Mm-hmm.
how I understood it almost. You get like and correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of said like if you get that Tuesday this month, you'll get the same Tuesday next
Yeah.
month is what you
That's
aim
the
for.
goal. Yeah.
So they basically own a day each month that
Yep.
they come back on every single month until
Yep.
the project is done, or they're just need to take a break or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that gives us time to, like I said, it gives us time to go on vacation or something like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
lock them in to, they don't have to know their calendar a year in advance. Because the way it was before when we were scheduling a year at a time, I wouldn't hold them to that day, but if they needed to move that day, then they were pushed out a whole another month. So instead of a month in between their sessions, they were 2 months out.
Gotcha.
Which just obviously pushes their tattoo another month longer to get finished.
Mm-hmm.
This way, I can push it out, a week if I have to. Ideally not, because then that kind of messes the whole thing up.
Right.
But most people are okay. I have a few people that have to have Saturdays. Obviously,
most people,
a lot of people
love it.
Yep. Nobody wants to use vacation
No.
day for getting
No, it's funny.
a
It's
large,
like
expensive tattoo done.
Yeah, right. Why would they do that?
Yeah, it's funny because like the women will almost always take the day off,
Yep.
but it's the men that were like, no, I have to have a Saturday,
Yep.
which is understandable. It's
Yeah.
like we're wired differently.
Yeah.
But it's funny. What was I saying?
I don't know, tattoos and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So next question, piggybacking. So with this process, this like timeshare way of booking, you guys are, so let's say if you're going to do a full sleeve or a full back piece, primarily you try to book that thing all the way, like from the start, if you can. Like if you're going to do a sleeve, you're like, okay, this is going to take a while.
Yes.
Let's get you on this day and preferably keep you on that day each month for the next 12 months to finish the sleeve or whatever.
So during the consultation process, I hammer in the fact that this is going to be a multi-year project, which some people are shocked by and some people are understanding by.
Yep.
And I think it can kind of not be such a shock when I post on like completed project, like this took me 2.5 years. If you want something like this, it's going to take you 2.5 years.
Right.
So yeah, during the consultation, I'm just like, this is a huge commitment. This is a huge commitment. This is a huge commitment.
Just hammer it
Just
in.
hammer it in. And then that way they know that they're signed up for
The huge commitment.
a huge commitment. Yeah. So I don't go ahead and I don't book that whole year anymore. But yes, the goal is once we come in for a sleeve, then that's what we'll do until it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people will come in with the idea of doing a half sleeve, and then they're like, oh, in the future, I want to go turn it into a full sleeve. Obviously, if we design it as a full sleeve, it's going to look better.
Right.
But, that's not always the case. And some people say that and they don't actually come back in and get a full sleeve. But,
Right.
so, yeah, we can kind of work with them that way.
So a while ago, you had told me about your deposits, and I don't remember how much it was. But in order to ensure people usually come back for the foreseeable to finish the project, like month after month, you take a sizable deposit at first that they get back at the end of the project. Like the completed project, that last session is when the deposit will come off. So it like incentivizes them to come back for the next 6 months to actually finish it so that they can get that deposit back,
Yeah.
Which honestly is, I mean, if you're a serious businessman, that's genius,
So we have a 2-hour minimum. We currently charge $200 an hour. So our deposit is $400, which covers that minimum. So whether if you're going to pay that anyways, right? So we take that $400 deposit, and it works pretty similar to what you just described. Once you get started, I will let you use $300 of that whenever you want to throughout the whole process.
Okay, cool.
So what we found is that once somebody gets a gray line session, they're likely going to come back and get it finished.
Right.
So you can use that 300 whenever, and then that $100 will roll over until the last time. Some people choose to just leave the whole amount on, which is totally fine. You can do whatever you want to. But yeah, once that deposit stays on the books until it's finished.
Okay. And has that been like refined over time? Like,
Yeah.
has there been some stuff that you kind of tried and didn't like how it worked, or you just realized something else worked better? Like, what's the process been for like this way that you book and operate? How have you gotten to that point?
As far as, the deposit goes, it's like your deposit has to be big enough that it's going to hurt if they lose it.
Mm-hmm. You guys still use the concept skin in the game.
Right.
They need to have skin in the game so that they come back, or else they're gonna lose out on something.
When I started, it was like my deposit was $20 or something like that, which is nothing for people, especially today.
Yeah.
So my no-show rate was considerably higher, and then I bumped it up to $100, and then that's still not that much for people. For some people it's a lot, but for a lot of people it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally bumped it up to like, oh yeah, you've got several $100s on the books at risk if you if you don't show up, you're going to lose this.
Yeah. I'm sure it attracts a better, not that, I guess, a better clientele base, more or less. Yeah.
People who are serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Willing to wait, willing to pay.
Attracting that certain client to get the work that you want to do and pay the money that you charge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there's a sticker shock sometimes, but
for sure,
that's okay. Yeah. Charge what you feel like you're worth, and people will pay it and some people won't.
Yep.
I also use the Square Appointments app. So that sends a text reminder the 24 hours before. For me personally, I think I'm the only one in the studio that uses that.
I love it.
You use it too?
Mm-hmm.
So that 24-hour reminder is my cutoff for reschedules. And then I tell them that if they reschedule after they get that text, then they lose whatever deposit they've got on the books. In order to make another appointment, they'll have to put another deposit down. So as long as I'm upfront about all that from the get-go, then everybody's understanding. They sign a little document saying that they agree, and
get a little drop of blood on it.
Yeah. Then we go.
Cool. Matt, do you do any special stuff booking?
So I kind of did very similar for a long time, but it was like more based on like the half and full days.
Mm-hmm.
I do like a half day, and my deposit would be $250. If it was a full day, it'd be a $400 deposit. My environment's changed being in Nashville, so I'd still do a couple full days throughout the week, and then there's like 1 or 2 half days that I'll do, and then I end up taking walk-ins and stuff throughout the day. Just we have it right now, so I like to be available and be a part of my studio, and I like to tattoo people. I like those random conversations and everything with people in town, or just trying to get tattooed names. I don't know. I still enjoy all that stuff. So so my booking's a little different now, but I will be going to probably just working 4 days a week the first of the year. So but basically I'll probably do 2 half days, 2 full days, and kind of spread those out. So.
What does a half day and full day look like for you?
So I more like based on like time. So like a 4 to 6 hour window, I try to be in that 4 hour window, but as we know, some things don't finish in the time. And then a full day, so like I don't want to tattoo more than 8 hours really, but sometimes it's a little bit over. If I'm thinking it's gonna push 10 hours, we're just gonna call it for the day.
Yeah.
I'm getting better about that as time goes on. Like sometimes there will only be a couple hours left on the project if I'm 8 hours in.
Yeah.
But I am getting weary.
Right. Need to eat.
Gray lines.
Yep.
Yeah. No, personally, I don't have a problem with just re-stenciling. Like I've gotten really good at finding cutoff points and just cutting my stencil. And so like to me, that doesn't bother me, and I'm like used to it and it's all good. But still, it's like, that extra 2 hours is just it's not gonna be my top quality work.
Right.
And I'm realizing that more and more, and I'm doing better at cutting off the session and being like, let's just bring you back in like you're over it, I'm over it. Let's be over it.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to
Let's
tell
be over it
tell the
together.
client. Do you struggle like if you have those situations where like, hey, we're just gonna call it, or you just like cool, you're just like I'm done for the day.
I don't struggle
sounds
anymore.
like it sounds like from the start you just don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
And I've learned a little bit about that from you, and I try to communicate that more to people as far as like, hey, I might finish this piece in one day, because I still will do full days. I might finish this in one day, but it's very likely, and if history shows, we might need another day to finish it up. So like, I just don't know, and I can't tell you. So I need you to be down for like the process of the tattoo, not just like think that it's going to be finished right away, because I just don't know.
There's some days where I will just go into the studio and I'm just not on. I know I'm not on my game.
Yep.
So I'll just pick like background or something boring to tattoo that doesn't really have to have my like 100% like A game.
Yeah.
For the day, and I'll do that, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, and your clients are coming back, so you have a chance to like render a bit more in the background or something.
Yeah. Which the background can be often forgotten. I don't think it's just we don't just phone it in.
Right. Yeah, I think it's an important element.
Yeah. You said something I was gonna
Elaborate on.
Yeah.
What'd I say?
Lost me too.
Oh well.
Yep, it's gone.
Yeah, tattoos and stuff. But so you said you've been tattooing about 8 years?
In January it'll be 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you guys have an overlap at the Needles Inn when you started?
For a brief period of time. I went under a year for sure.
Okay.
I want to.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was
I want to say maybe 2 months. Maybe.
Yeah.
Not very long.
Because I left there in September of 2018.
Yeah. I want to say maybe a month. Actually,
it wasn't much at all. Yeah.
So I imagine, and I've even working with different people, like there's been certain things I've learned or picked up, and then you work with other people at another shop, and they're like, why are you doing it that way? Like, do it this way or whatever. That could be anything having to do with like your machine or equipment or just actual technique or stenciling or whatever. You just kind of pick up your bag of tricks from everyone and, put them all in a bundle. But I would imagine since I know how Dave and Tyler kind of work and do things with booking and with tattoo process, and they do a very high level of work. I would imagine that there's certain stuff that like from how you started, you had to kind of unlearn and relearn when you went to work with them. And it's been the same with me at multiple places that I've gone. It's like I'm always, and there's nothing bad about it. It's just a growth process because everyone ends up doing things their own way.
Right.
So I don't know. And I would say probably the same with you. Like over the years, surely there's been stuff to where like you thought you had it figured out and you still end up changing your process when you go work with other people and
100%.
learn something.
Like doing the guest spots and conventions, it's like almost every single time. And then I'm also in communication with a lot of tattooers. So I'm constantly having my process, I don't want to say questioned, but almost like, okay, maybe this is worth trying out, or I'm trying not to change too many things anymore though. I feel like I'm happy with my processes right now, but that could change tomorrow or after this conversation during it. I don't.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many things in tattooing whenever we're learning that we're told it has to be this way. Like you have to do it this step by step by step. You have to do your blacks first. You have to line it first. You have to do this.
It's not always the case.
No, you can almost throw all of that out the window and do it differently.
Yes.
And sometimes it's way better.
Yeah, everyone's got a method to their madness.
Yeah.
And I've always found it fascinating watching other people tattoo. I remember watching you specifically freehanding an eagle. And it was like I'd watched Guy Atchison and I'd watched other people freehanding, but I'd never seen someone freehand anything realistic. It was like, so like watching that process, like I picked that up and I was like, honestly, when you left, I was like bummed. I was like, oh, this sucks. Like I was so good.
I forgot you were there when I did that.
Yeah.
That was the biggest waste of time. I don't know how long it took me to draw that eagle on, but I should have just stenciled it.
Right.
I did it just to see if I could, honestly.
Right. Yeah. As starting out, I think we do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good story to have.
Yeah.
Like it's
I still
funny.
tell people about that.
It's funny too because Matt's over here like, dude, that was so sick,
It was
and
just-
and you're over here like, that was such a waste of time. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, but being like 3 years in and seeing someone like obviously Guy Atchison, him freehanding stuff, and like the lettering guys that freehand constantly. Like there's a method, there's a process of why they do it. With the realism, I understand why you're saying it's a waste of time. I should have just stenciled it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
dude, there's stuff right now that's wowing me as far as the freehand stuff, and it's mostly the dark art like skull stuff I'm seeing. So there's like Jesse
Biomech and
Yes,
stuff. Yeah, that's
yes,
why Guy Atchison, like I would say his process is it lends to that.
Yeah, the dark bio work going on. Jesse Levitt, I think.
Yes,
he's
phenomenal.
sick. Gosh, dude, what's his name? Nathan Marty. Worked by him at Incarceration. He was in the booth next to us.
Yep.
He was super ill at that. That is so impressive to me.
Yeah.
Because their drawing to an extent is intricate, but like for what the tattoo ends up being and all of the detail and texture that they put in on the fly.
Yeah.
Like the stencil is very basic compared to what it ends up being.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to me.
It's a lot like painting that at that point.
Yeah.
It's like you're building up in layers
Yes. Yeah.
with markers, light markers versus to dark markers, and then to the tattoo, it's just that final layer of a refined painting tattoo.
Yeah, I find for me when it comes to freehanding lettering, I find it mind blowing. The super precise lettering,
Yeah.
evenly spaced, everything's perfect, and then they tattoo it even better.
Yeah, there's a guy out of New Zealand. I'm trying to remember his name. He's a super big lettering guy, but yeah, I'd have to think of it and get back with you guys. But
Yeah.
it's like he'll do like a whole thing. It's just all hand drawn on
And perfect.
and just perfect. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that stuff's amazing, dude.
Yep.
Your boy Rob Sloan. Do you know Rob Sloan?
So I know who Rob is, and yeah, Rob's phenomenal at lettering and his oil painting, like portraiture and stuff. That he's like mixing those two together and stuff. Yeah, he's working with Brad, or was.
No, he's working with. I think he still works at. I don't remember.
Okay, Artistry Realm, maybe was he there for a little bit? Okay.
Yes, Artistry Realm.
Okay.
Yeah. And what's the dude's name that owns that? Mexican dude.
Couldn't tell you.
He has a podcast now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
I don't know what it's called. Oh, Dreamer. His name's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I haven't met him.
I haven't either.
He reached out on Instagram one day to talk to me, but other than that, I haven't actually met him.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they're doing cool stuff over there. They have
Yeah.
a lot of those lettering dudes.
Yeah.
Yep, lots of calligraphy, that type of art.
They can keep it.
Yeah. No lettering for you.
I'm not a lettering
You
guy.
want that?
No.
I remember walk-ins coming in a few times that the needle's in and to be lettering, and like Logan's like, nope,
Yeah.
not doing it.
I mean, so I'm not like the biggest fan, but like I definitely respect it and it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's just not what I'm into actually doing. But what I've seen that I like the most when it comes to calligraphy or lettering is when it's mixed in with realism stuff. So it could either be, you could have a dope realism like portrait, like creative scene, and in the background is like calligraphy letters brushed or something, and that looks cool. Or there's this painter I follow, I forget his name on Instagram, but he does like portrait paintings, and then basically when like half the face is finished, he like blends off the head really smooth, and then up above is like calligraphy, like blending
I
out
feel
of
like
the
I've
head.
seen that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know,
He sent me something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it can be used in ways that I would like it and would even experiment with it, but I haven't experimented with it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there's a really good, like we all need to learn lettering to get a good flow.
Yeah.
Especially with our line work and stuff. And that line work, even if we're doing realism to where there's technically no lines in it, like you still need to pull like the eyelid or something like that. You still have to do a line.
Yeah.
Still, there's still edges.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
edges got to be clean, whether you line them or sculpt them.
Yeah, and you're still like doing line work with your gray lines
Right,
and stuff
yeah,
like that. So having that foundation in tattooing of doing line work and doing lettering, I think is important. But
Yeah. But as far as lettering tattoos, No thanks.
Nope.
It's just going to ruin it. It could be so much better if you just wouldn't put letters in it.
Yeah,
Don't label it.
dude. Sometimes I can't believe when I still like it'll be a perfectly fine piece and then someone will literally want to throw a birthday in there or like a name or something. I'm like, I'm literally not even gonna want to post this because you took a perfectly good piece and ruined it with that little thing, and it irks me so much that like it's gonna make me just not like it, but
There's been a handful of situations where I've recommended against it, and then they've wanted it, and them come back later on to have want it that section covered or altered because it's been like they put the date, and then now everyone thinks it's a memorial and it's not a memorial or something. And
well, doing stuff like that or not doing stuff like that, having a consultation can do
a lot
wonders to be able to explain why you don't want to do this and why it could be a bad idea. Not necessarily a bad idea, but why it would make things worse.
Right.
Potentially. It's like we don't have to put somebody's name in a tattoo for that to make the tattoo about them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like use symbolism instead.
Yeah.
I try my hardest.
Try to tell a story with the tattoo instead of just like exactly labeling what it is.
Yeah. Because something like lettering can like obstruct the flow, or really, I think that's the biggest thing. It can really obstruct flow. And other than those situations with those lettering guys, because I think it can be added to a tattoo very tastefully and kind of even make the flow better sometimes. But
yeah, definitely if it's stylized lettering.
Yeah.
But if it's not,
like
if
font.
if it's like just a little cursive like birth date or like a name or something with a little heart by it, it's like that does not go with the piece. Come on. I try my hardest definitely to talk people into like get something like beautiful, like something that matches my portfolio, something that you think is cool, but like let it represent somebody that you care about without like you said, you don't actually need their name in it or like, you know what I mean? Specifics about them. It's like, just get something that like reminds you of them or represents them.
Because it's for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cause it's for them. It can still be a memorial piece or whatever, but unfortunately, like so many of the very specific names or whatever I've done in the past, like it could be couple tattoos or whatever. I've literally done one, and then 3 weeks later, somebody hit me up and was like, "Hey, can you cover this up for me? We just broke up." And I was like, "Okay, that's
cool.
why you don't do it. Like, just get a standalone tattoo that like no one even has to know that it's for them, and so it can live on its own if you and that person ever don't have a relationship again, And even it could be best friends, because I've even done those tattoos and talked to someone a year or two later, and
they're not friends anymore.
I was like, "What did I do on you last time?" And they're like, "Oh, this little thing with so and so," and I was like, "Oh, cool. How's she?" I don't know. We're not friends anymore.
I don't care. I've actually see him again.
Yep. Like I've actually been thinking about getting this covered up, and so I'm like, great.
Yeah, and actually, like, me and Matt have been in it a little bit longer. We still haven't been in it forever.
No,
but we're at the point to where we can, like, if we feel like it's not going to be a good idea, we don't have to take that on.
Yeah.
For newer artists, it's like they're trying to do as much tattoos as they can.
Yeah. Adding to your client base and stuff like that. You need to do some of that to build those little tattoos, grow up and become big tattoos eventually.
Yeah. I did most of this type of stuff because nowadays I really recommend against it. But most of this was at like when I was at the Salty Siren, which it was like walk-in city there, and everyone else was fully booked out like months. So all the walk-ins came directly to me.
Yeah.
So I did so much. I'll do like 5 or 6 walk-ins in a day, just little stuff. So I did a lot of that there, and then probably some at the Needles Inn in my apprenticeship too. To where, because at that certain point, like you said, like definitely really early on, you kind of just take on whatever.
Kind of trailing off of like taking on whatever other like styles. I know we kind of know what you do, but maybe for the viewer, styles that you prefer or don't do at all.
I prefer realism.
What kind? Black and gray color?
Both.
I know.
I prefer.
killer at
Yeah.
both. I'm just saying.
My collar tattoos, they lean more. They're starting to lean more towards like paintings. I feel like instead of I'm not trying to stress so much about making them as realistic as possible anymore. And I'm really enjoying that.
Well, honestly, that's probably what, if there's anything that will set you apart from anyone else's work, it'll be when that style comes into it, rather than just making it look exactly like, let's say, and still it looks close to the reference, but like it'll look different than anyone else doing a reference like that.
Right.
If you let it look more like how you would paint it,
Yeah.
you know, it's going to look more unique. And
Yeah. And this kind of goes back to our color theory conversation from earlier. I've been playing with, you know, there's a phrase, value does all the work and color gets the credit. So as long as, and I use this all the time with, like, say that the reference is showing that there's reds here, but I'm like, I'll change that up a little bit
Right,
and I'll
as long as
put
the
the same value of green or blue
Right.
or something like that. And as long as the value is right, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's just going to add interest to the tattoo. You're going to look at it and be like, that looks awesome. I'm not really sure why, but it looks awesome.
Right. Yeah, but I learned that kind of stuff from like Yogi and Tony Johnson. They were like, he was doing Lord of the Rings portrait, and it was like it was way more orange than the reference was. And it's like the values there, and it looked phenomenal. But unless you're looking at the reference, you wouldn't even notice that anything different.
sometimes on, and this is more of if I'm making like a neo trad design or something like that. But if on Procreate, you can just mess with the color curves and stuff, or just the actual hue. So you can take anything that's colored and just the hue that goes back and forth, change it to pretty much any color. So like what you're saying, it's like if something naturally is red, but you change it to green or blue or like purple, you know what I mean? And then mess with the contrast and stuff. It's like you end up finding out that that same image can look pretty sweet if it was any color.
Yeah.
If the values are the
As long
same.
as the values are right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I guess if you're switching a color, all the values remain the same. It's just
Right.
the hue's changing. So
The hard part is realizing that colors are going to lie to you when you get them out, and just like, okay, what is the value? And just deciphering what right value is to put there. So I like to keep, going back to our original question, I like to keep a couple of neo-trad pieces in my rotation to just kind of stay on top of my line work. And
Yeah, I've always enjoyed your neo-trad stuff.
you probably won't see a ton of it online because there's usually only like one a year or something like that.
Right,
But
yeah.
I'll get something finished up.
yeah, here and there you'll see it from you.
Yeah.
But I'd say that the three styles I see from you are like black and gray realism, color realism, and neo trad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I can't say I really see like any American traditional or
No.
lettering or any.
No.
Yeah. So, but I think you're one of the people that it's rare to be like super good at like multiple styles. And I think that your neo trad is very good. Your color and black and gray realism are both very, very good. So that's cool to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't necessarily say the same. Like, I might be able to do a neo trad piece. It'll be okay. But like, I haven't spent the time honing that in like I have black and gray. So it's cool to see when people just multiple styles, like three styles, they can just kill anything.
I've got, I'll say it here because, my clients probably won't see most of this, but I've got a couple clients that have talked me into doing the, like the stippled shading pieces. So I've got two clients in particular that talked me into it and then ended up wanting like full sleeves and back pieces of this style. So I've gotten pretty good at that, but I don't advertise it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's funny because that style is so popular now.
Yeah.
Are you doing like more like neo with it?
It's a lot of like mandalas and flowers.
Right.
So that's pretty much.
Yeah, it's a very popular style right now for sure.
It was funny. Like the first session on one of them, I put the stencil on, and while it was drying, I told my client, I was like, "Hang on a second, I'm going to go up front and take a drink of water, and we'll get going." I went up front and looked at YouTube and like, how do I do this?
That's
How
hilarious.
do I set my machine to let this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
Take
just
it
like-
all the way down to the lowest setting
Yep,
where it's just
yep.
like
Yep.
Kind
you can hear that hitting the tube, and
hang my needle out a little bit further
Yep.
than normal and just kind of graze the skin, kind of. Yep.
Yep.
I remember the first time doing it, feeling it's super unnatural to do it that way. But I like individually dotting, like all my mandala stuff. It takes forever, but I do like it.
yeah, you can almost
Dude.
like when you turn your machine down that low, you can like feel it like pulling against the skin
Yes.
as it's like popping out. You can hear it on the tube and just like
Yep. Because it kind of, if it's going that slow, but your hand's moving fast, whipping it out like that,
yeah,
then you feel it like you're going faster than the needle is almost, and
Yep.
the needle's like gets hung on the skin a
Yeah.
little by little, and you can feel that tension.
yeah. At this point, after like a couple sleeves and a back piece with it, like I can turn it up and just like actually move my hand pretty
Yeah.
quick and get through it. But yeah, anyway, speed of your machine relative to the speed of your hand is
Yep. Super important.
basics of tattooing is all around.
Yeah, that style is so popular in like anime now, and some definitely neo style stuff and mandala stuff.
I think tattooing in general is just it's widespread popularity, and everyone likes different things. So it's definitely grown a lot.
Yeah. Not sure how it's going to age.
Right. Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Same with like, I feel the same with like watercolor-esque stuff. I'm just like, don't trust it, kind of, especially when you're getting like oranges and yellows
Yep.
that we've seen over years not hold up, or you don't do any watercolor stuff either, I would assume.
If you're super close family or friends, you
Okay.
can like
You
it's
can
like
talk
you
him
can
into it.
talk me into it. But I'll be like, don't tell anybody where you got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it gets hard. A lot of people don't understand like your name is on a piece of work, and even if it's for what it is, if it's like perfectly done, it's the basic design might just not be very complex. So it's like
Right.
that's not the brand that you're building or that you've been building for 8 years. Then if so and so goes and tells somebody like, yeah, I got this tattoo done by this person, then
It's going to attract more of that.
yeah, it's going to attract more of that. And if you show the other someone who actually knows or something like that, they'll just be like, "Oh, well, it's a basic tattoo. I'm not going to that person," because they want
Right.
something
Yeah,
not
yeah,
basic.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole brand identity that you build, you kind of have to protect it, or I guess I would say have integrity.
Yeah.
And it's like what you said right before this. You probably do, very good pieces with that stipple style work or whatever you want to call it, but that doesn't mean that you're posting them.
Right. Like I know
And-
it's such a popular style right now that it would flood my calendar with it, and I enjoy doing other things. Now it's good for me, like to do that style, to like I said, stay on top of my line work and to just experiment with other things.
Branch out a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. I don't want to completely like get my calendar booked up with that stuff and not do any realism anymore.
Because that's where your passion lies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think to an extent, I would say you do the most mixed style stuff.
Yeah.
But to an extent, I would say we all do that as far as like, there's pieces we do that we don't actually advertise,
Yeah.
and we're okay with doing them and branching out, or just like helping somebody out that we know that wants something that we don't necessarily like to do all the time. But if you go starting to post that stuff, that starts to mess with like the brand that you've built and what you're attracting.
Yep.
And I think the normal population doesn't quite understand that.
Yeah, 'cause it's not
and
that
like,
we
we
don't
don't go
like your
around talking
tattoos.
about it.
Yeah.
But
for
it's
sure.
it's a thing,
Yeah. 100%. Like I think we all have a perception of who we are as people, and we want to portray that accurately online. Because just like no different than you having a consultation, you having those consultations and make sure that you fit with people. If you're branding yourself a certain way online, it's going to attract more people that want to work with you as a person. And yeah, I think it makes it easier when you're attracting the people that are your people.
Well, cool. You got any other questions for Logan while we got him here?
I feel like we kind of briefly touched on anything. Like I said earlier, I didn't really know your like origin, like starting into it, or what inspired it, I guess.
So I went and got tattooed. got tattooed in North Vernon, and I talked to the guy that was tattooing me, and it's like, oh yeah, all my brothers and sisters have always wanted me to tattoo. I'm sure they just wanted free tattoos. So I've been thinking about it, and of course he was like, yeah, he gets this song and dance, twice a week. Like, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And then go home. I add him on Facebook, and he sees some of my art from school, and then he sends me a message and says, oh, hey, you should actually come back in here and talk to me about this. This could be a thing. So I was working as a fabricator at the time, and we worked 4 10-hour days. So I was Monday through Friday fabricating. So I would go do that, and then Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday, I would tattoo, like do my apprenticeship. So I did that for a few months. I tattooed myself 3 months into tattooing.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know what else to teach you. Like, you're just like, at that point it was, which at the time should have been a red flag, but just made my head real big.
Right.
So from that point, it was kind of just trial and error on figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
Watching YouTube and going to the Hell City convention and getting tattooed
picking
by
other artists' brains
Yeah.
and stuff.
I mean, it eventually gets to that point, right? When you get to a certain level, it's like you're not always going to have someone right in front of you to answer the question you need answered.
Right.
Question you need answered. So you're just going to start trying stuff. And
Yeah.
trial and error has to come into our tattooing at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It would be unrealistic if like all of us said we'd never experimented while tattooing.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
it'd
yeah.
be very unfair
Yeah.
to say that.
I will, not all the time anymore, because I'm getting a pretty good grasp on what will work and what won't work. But often I would go into a section that I know is going to be solid black and just like do something,
Right.
just try something else, and then just pack a black over top of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, having somebody like Dave and Tyler that will be like, I've done that, I've made that mistake, don't do it.
Right.
And trusting that they know what they're talking about, so you just avoid that mistake altogether, is really nice to have.
Yep.
So having those guys that have been doing it, not just been doing it for a long time, but have been doing it well for a long time.
Yes.
Over your shoulder or in your corner to pick their brains on. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Like, what? Like, would you even go this small? Or they're like, no, just make that portrait bigger.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't going to age well, and they can show you like, here's a color tattoo that I did 15 years ago, and then they came back in 5 years later, and I took another picture. Here's how it aged.
Yeah.
So having guys like that, I think, is super important. If not in your shop, then definitely within your
contacts,
community.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your circle.
Yeah. And we don't need to be like, in your circle, not competition with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, community over competition for sure. I think if we are all sharing knowledge to get better, we're creating a better overall picture instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's kind of like what you touched on earlier. Like Skeleton Crew has been in Columbus probably the longest. I don't know how long Expressions has been here, but I don't know if it's been as long as Skeleton Crew.
Could be wrong, but I believe they've been here longer for sure.
But there's so many shops in Columbus now.
Yes, there is.
It's like Skeleton Crew is just like this tiny, like there's 3 of us in this kind of hole in the wall shop downtown, and
Doing beautiful work. Yeah.
But people think that the tattoo community as a whole is largely represented by all these other shops that have popped up over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which
And they just don't even know.
Oftentimes is a spit in the face to you guys. You know what I mean? It's still, and I know that we don't mention names about this stuff, but like it's crazy. How I'll still see on Facebook people that tattoo out of their house. Like I don't even know who the person is, and then someone will ask like, "Who's the best tattooer around?" Like looking for some work, and I see people tag these people that I don't even know who they are, and then I find out. Like I'll click on them, find out who they are. They're tattooing out of their house, doing god awful work. You know what I mean? Like straight up scratcher tattoos, and they have people recommending them as the best around.
Yep.
Insane.
It is insane.
I mean,
I will often go. I've never gotten a client off of one of those posts, not that I can think of, but it's funny to look at like how many people will get tagged multiple times, and I'll have like one tag and like 250 comments,
Yeah.
which is fine with me,
Right.
But because they're probably if you're posting on Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a good tattoo artist. Who you recommend?" It's super easy to just Google tattoo shops,
Right.
and then
Look at
pick out an artist
portfolios, yeah.
yourself. So that person's probably not for me, anyways.
Right.
Um,
It's an interesting like phenomena in like new tattooing to like the recommendation matters so much instead of the portfolio, which is I don't know. It's interesting.
yeah, dude, it's crazy how many good tattooers are within even our surrounding cities. Like not
so many.
not even going up to Indianapolis.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
There's a lot of good artists around. 100%.
So yeah. Anyway, I don't know where we're headed with that, but yeah, it's a slap in the face to people who have actually been around a long time and doing high quality work, and you know what I mean, like have integrity.
Yeah.
I think Dave might have been the first person I ever saw do a tattoo even. I remember I went with James and he had gotten a portrait of Hank Williams and Dave was redoing it. And that was the first time I'd ever seen anyone tattoo. So it's like kind of like blown away. I just remember just like watching, just being like, okay, that's wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, cause I mean, at that point in time, I didn't even know that portraits were possible on skin to that level, let alone I'd only seen like my mom's ex-husband with like a tribal, I don't even know what a cross of some kind, and it was just I didn't know good tattoos were possible.
Right. Yeah, it's funny like watching Dave, like even for me watching Dave, I've been tattooing next to him for 6 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm like I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on my black and gray until I watched Dave do black and gray.
Right.
I'm like, how do you get it that soft?
Right.
Like I don't understand. Like, and I know we do. I know our techniques are differently. He runs his machine differently. He runs his like his hands faster or what have you.
Right.
But I'm just like this. It doesn't work for me.
Right.
Like, we use the same equipment. We use the same needles. Everything's the same. But I
Yep.
can't get it that smooth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And probably comes with the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But I mean,
Because like a lot of stuff, especially black and gray, when those really light tones heal up, they smooth out so much. If anything does look like patchy or not as smooth as you want it to, like when it comes back healed, you might not be able to see some of those imperfections. And then it's like, I find myself thinking all the time, like, does some of this stuff that I put so much effort into really matter when it comes back healed? Or is it just kind of a waste of time? Like when it comes to longevity and contrast and stuff like that.
right. I think it depends on what, we're taught that tattoos should have they should last an entire lifetime, right? But, the Mona Lisa has cracks in it. So
I love that.
if it has to be perfect, then don't get tattooed.
Right.
Like if it has to age and be the same for the rest of your life, then don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So everything's going to age.
Like it's a tattoo.
Yeah.
And it's made by a human hand.
Yeah.
Like as well.
Yeah. So it's going to age. Now, for me personally, I feel like it should look nice longer than the 2 weeks that it takes to heal.
100%. Yeah. I think average what we're seeing is like, I mean, the gauge has always been 10 years.
Yeah.
Like everyone cares, like, what does your tattoos look like 10 years? And now I'm like pushing that time where it's like, I don't even want to, the tattoos I did 10 years ago aren't even comparable to what I'm capable of doing now.
Yeah.
So I got to wait. Really, I need another 10 years of tattooing to see what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
even.
And that's always going to be, we're always going to keep progressing. So that's going to keep trailing behind us on
Yep.
You do see guys change, like they're mainly like on their color realism stuff. You'll see guys make a shift at like their 15-year mark. They'll get really good at color portraits or something like that.
Yep.
And then they'll hit 15 years, then they'll start seeing their old work healed. That was actually still good when they were 5 years in. And then it didn't heal, it didn't age well at all.
Right.
So they'll shift, and at that point they'll start doing like blocky colors instead of real smooth and like subtle things with their color ink.
Upping the contrast.
Yeah,
more,
up
maybe.
in the contrast.
More blocks of colors. That's kind of the approach that I have more with color now. It's like blocks of color rather than just like all those blends. Because I feel like I'm seeing those blends don't They matter for sure, but not to the level that I thought that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm still finding the balance between, like, I want to do I take into consideration high contrast with my black and gray for the healing purpose and longevity. In 5 or 10 years, I want it to still read really well.
Yep.
But I also like midtones a lot, and I enjoy midtones a lot. So I try to get the full dynamic range, which is I feel like a constant learning process. Like I'm still learning how to find, because there's people I follow that they might as well just do black and gray with black ink because it's so high contrast,
yeah.
and it's still good. It's still realistic work and everything, but like there's not a whole lot of those like silky grays and midtones in there or light tones. And then there's other people that use too much midtone and not enough black.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't you don't have that contrast.
Yeah,
in there,
and so it's really good, but then you see it healed, and it's like that just doesn't pop off the skin. There's no contrast. In 10 years, I think it's gonna look even worse.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find the balance of like, high contrast that's gonna last, but also use all the midtones and light tones, and like I guess fully saturate it with wash tones, rather than just leave mostly open skin.
Yeah. And you'll find that like you can get away with more stuff on different types of skin, obviously, and different placements. So it's like the inner bicep, you can get away with whatever you want to.
Yes.
It's like it's not sun damaged at all. It's usually great, unless it's just full stretch marks. It's usually great skin to tattoo. It's difficult because you got to stretch it more, but like once you're comfortable stretching, it's like you can do whatever you want to.
Yep.
But like the outer forearm on somebody's left arm that's been hanging out a trucker window, like you just can't do what you want to there. It's like so you have to know. It's like, oh, I'm going to bump my contrast or basically just use black on that forearm.
Yeah.
But I can do whatever I want to on the inside of the arm.
Yep. Unfortunately, the lighter the skin, the better for what I do.
Yeah. It's better for tattoos in general.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that that's a universal like truth.
Yeah.
As far as what shows up, what lasts the longest, all that stuff.
Yeah. Gingers are great.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
But it is an interesting dynamic, like that you have to shift how you do things on the tone of skin. Because like I did a leg piece the other day on my friend Arturo, and he's of Mexican descent, and so he has a different tone of skin. You might not be able to see as much those like extra light tones and stuff like that. So you leave more open skin in the design so that it reads really well, and you have to create the contrast a little bit differently.
Using like more black.
Yeah.
Instead, yeah.
More black or darker tones, and then leaving like open skin sections. And the darker the skin gets, you have to do that more and more and more.
Yeah.
So
I think backgrounds are like really important on like those darker skin tones to like set things forward too.
well, Logan, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like we can keep going.
Yeah, I could forever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think we all could. We'll have to do it again.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Just wanted to pick your brain. I know that you do things differently than most tattooers I know or talk to. So I felt like people should hear that and can benefit from it, because I've even learned things from you.
Yep.
That I have implemented into the way I do things, and I'm still learning from you. So I'll probably go home and change something tonight, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna need you to book for 6 months. The next person I talk to.
Yeah.
I can really switch to 4-hour sessions instead of 8.
Yeah.
I doubt Tracy's doing that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No.
Maybe one day when his back starts hurting enough.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, man, we just appreciate it. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Logan Easler, people, look him up. Incredible work. Works at Skeleton Crew, Columbus, Indiana. So.
Yep. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Or
No,
yeah.
I think
Awesome.
I think that's it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks,
right.
everyone,
Thanks,
for
guys.
watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And we just appreciate you guys for watching and engaging with the content. So with that, we're going to leave you. Peace out.
See you guys.